let me call the special meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Mayor Gibson,
Here.
Vice Mayor Lidlaw,
Here.
Commissioner McGee,
Here.
Commissioner Catigano,
Here.
Commissioner Hyde.
Here.
Let's stand for a pledge of allegiance, please.
Wear the flag out.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first, adopt final millage rate, resolution 2024-21. Travis?
Mr. Mayor, let me just read this into the record. It's Resolution 2024-21, a resolution of the City of Oak Hill, of Volusia County, Florida, adopting the final levying of ad valorem taxes for Volusia County for fiscal year 24-25, providing for an effective date.
Make a motion.
You also need to read the amount of road and millage rate. We got at some point to state that. The millage rate's over the rollback rate. Because I didn't know that. You have the actual resolution. Do you have that, Zach?
I don't have it as published. I have it like as we were going back and forth on measures, but I don't have like the formal agenda packet.
Is it 24-19? Is that it?
21.
21.
Okay.
I started to slide.
It's 5.3832.
$5.6820.
I have here, that was a rollback.
No, the rollback is 5.3291.
Then we have to publicly state what the percentage increase over the rollback is. As part of that. Is it in the? do you have the body of-
6.6. Up there? 6.6 increase?
I don't know if that's it. Resolution itself? Yeah. You read the title, so just read the whereas and read the whole thing. Just get that, just to make sure you got it all. You read the title already, and just start with the whereases and the body of it.
Whereas the City of Oak Hill of Volusia County, Florida, on September 5th, 2024, adopted fiscal year tentative millage rate following a public hearing as required by Florida Statute 200.065. And whereas the City of Oak Hill, Volusia County, Florida, on September 5th, 2024, held a public hearing as required by Florida Statute 200.065. And whereas the gross taxable value for operating purposes not exempt from taxation within Volusia County has been certified by the property appraiser to the City of Oak Hill as $214,676,561. Now therefore be it resolved by the City of Oak Hill of Volusia County that for fiscal year 24-25 operating millage rate is 5.6820 mils, which is 6.6% higher than the rollback rate of 5.3291. This resolution will take effect immediately upon its adoption.
Motion to approve Resolution 204-21.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion from commissioners. None? Do we have any citizens? Mr. Evans,
Yes, sir.
that wish to make a comment?
Peer warning.
No, mine was in reference to the budget.
Oh, sorry.
Joanne would like to say something.
I just have a question. At the last meeting, the resolution for the millage rate was Resolution 2024-19, and you have it right now as 2024-21, and the resolution numbers have also changed for the final budget. Is there a reason?
Preliminary and final, two different resolutions.
So you
That
just
was the
keep giving more
proposed- The preliminary proposed was that one you're
Okay.
talking about.
So you just give them new resolution numbers every time? You don't adopt the same resolution all the way along?
Well, it could change between preliminary and final, but it doesn't change, they still have new resolution numbers.
Okay, thank
For
you.
the budget and the millage.
Thank you, Duran. Anyone else? Citizens?
No one else wants to talk about the millage? Too much good talking about the budget after the millage is set.
No one else?
I had a question about the budget after this.
Budget's next.
This is just about the millage rate, Tom.
Oh, about the budget?
Not yet.
Okay.
We have a motion on Resolution 2024-21. No other comments? Commissioners, call for the vote?
Mayor Gibson,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Lindlau,
Yes.
Commissioner McGee,
Yes.
Commissioner Catagano,
Yes.
Commissioner Hyde.
Yes.
Next, adopt final budget, Resolution 2024-22.
Resolution 2024-22, a resolution of the City of Oak Hill of Volusia County, Florida, adopting the final budget for fiscal year 24-25, providing for an effective date.
I make a motion, we accept and we pass the resolution 2024-22.
Second it.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion from the commissioners?
I do have
You
something.
have the floor.
So when we were doing the budget workshop with Zach, I see him sitting there. You remember we talked about when he had mentioned to us that we were pretty low on our reserve fund, and we had all pledged to put $20,000 in there as a goodwill gesture. But I'm not seeing it in there.
Zach? What happened with the additional funds for the reserves?
So when you're referring to the additional 20,000,
Yes.
that's on the, when we were talking capital?
Do you remember that conversation that we had? When you had told us that the association that dictates accountants for
In terms of the
municipalities,
percentage?
that they had said that there was a certain amount of money that they had recommended that a city had, and we were well short of that. And so we had a discussion here, and we had all agreed to, just as a goodwill gesture, to put $20,000 in there.
So I remember the discussions about the percentage.
It wasn't,
In terms of the, so 20, in terms of having a $20,000 surplus effectively, that would be going into reserves, or in what format?
you had said that we only had a couple of months' worth of reserve.
That was the auditors.
I think it was him. I remember the conversation like it was yesterday.
I don't recall an
And
exact.
we had all, and the mayor seems to remember it too. And we pledged to put $20,000 into contribution to reserve, and it's not there. And I'm just asking why. I mean, all the rest of it's right there. It's just a question.
Yeah, so I do not recall a specific, because basically the way that would show up in the budget is we would have just a $20,000 surplus, where we would have basically $20,000 less in expenses than in revenue. Again, I do not recall, basically, I remember discussing
We talked a lot
kind of in
about it.
theory.
We talked about roads and how nothing's getting fixed and all this stuff, and whether or not we would ever be able to do that. And we pledged, at the commission itself, had made a pledge to put $20,000 on the new budget into this reserve fund, and it's not there.
So, I mean, effectively, what we'd be looking at either way would be, like, where we would have been then versus now is saying there's gotta be $20,000 that we don't spend, from the standpoint that the revenue's already basically tapped out, so to speak, in terms of the millage rate was where it is now, was where it was then. So that would be the trade-off, is there would be something to say, okay, let's not spend this other $20,000 with the intent of it going into effectively reserves based off of where we finish for the year.
Yeah, how it gets there and where it comes from, that's one thing, but the commission made that pledge, and I just think we should stick to it. Put $20,000 in there. Where it comes from, I guess we got to find someplace. I mean, I get the way the budget works and all that, but we said it, and it's not there, so just pointing that out.
What I remember, Joe, was that the auditor came in and said we had 3 months' worth of operating funds for reserve, and that they recommended
him.
we have five. It wasn't him.
It was.
5 to 6
Whatever.
months, right? That we should have 5 to 6 months. That was when the auditor was here.
The auditor lady didn't know that, she didn't say, I remember him distinctly, because you referred to this, it was an association that,
When we absolutely, I know, did discuss, again, policy-wise, percentage-wise, again, I don't recall in terms of the notes coming out of like the last budget workshop, I did not have anything, or in going back and forth with Jerome on, our joint notes, have anything to that effect, so I'm.
well, me being ignored is certainly nothing unusual here.
Because I made the comment, and I said we could take the 20,000 out of signs. Signs are 50,000.
There you go.
Okay,
Or, we all approved that 20,000.
we did, right.
So the signs are at zero. The 50,000 was the prior year budget.
So what's our remedy?
I mean, again, the revenue basically is what it is, so it would come down to, we could say, hey, we're gonna move from a certain expense line item, cut something else that's in there, and just basically allocate that is not going to be spent.
Excuse us.
And then whatever we have, again, it's basically just saying that we would reduce the spending authority by $20,000, picking whatever line item we felt was most applicable to basically create that surplus.
Scott, any issues?
No, that's the whole point of this, is the irony thing, if you read the statute, is if, you wanted to change the millage rate to create the surplus, you can't do it. You've already approved it, so it's done. So now you just gotta work within the millage rate you have and just shift money around and say, all right, we're not gonna
Right.
spend, we're not gonna budget money here.
We move it from one.
The other option would be to, I guess, make another pledge that as money doesn't get spent that's budgeted, that we transfer that to reserve funds and not put it to other line items to cover shortfalls till we build up that $20,000 reserve. And that's another way to do it. Because there may be, there may be positions that are budgeted that aren't filled. I don't know.
Yeah.
But if there are, and you don't fill them for a half a year, you may have $20,000 that you budgeted to spend that you're not going to. And then you could shift that to reserves, and just, we could adopt a policy to do that.
Okay.
Until we, we could actually bring a resolution back next meeting to say we're adopting a policy that we will, any budgeted funds in excess, or any budgeted funds in excess of actual expenditures shall be transferred to reserve and not transferred to cover other shortfalls until we get to the point of increasing reserves by X dollars. And we could do that.
Can we specifically say up to $20,000?
Yeah, up to $20,000.
Yeah, okay.
It's all right.
I think that'll take care of that. Yep.
That kind of bases it on hope, though, doesn't it?
Nope, yeah.
Rather
Unless
than
you
us-
can you can pick something now.
Because we said it before we even made this thing. It just ticks me off that we would sit here and say that to the public and then just turn around and act like it never happened. It really does.
Nobody said that, Joe. You make things up as you see fit.
0. Am I making that up?
Nobody said.
0.
Nobody made it up. You made it up.
You just
Nobody
you
said
just
that.
said that.
I did not even close.
Said you go around making stuff up. I
Oh,
heard
you're
it.
good at that.
Point of order.
Sure.
Boy.
Sure. It just ticks me off that you can lie to the public like that.
Do we have any other citizens that wish to make a comment?
I think Mr. Pence did.
Here, wording.
Carrie Winning, Indian Creek Road. I have a question for you. When is Mr. Fisher's last day? I'd like to, thank him for his service and the years that he's worked for our city.
Why do you say his last day?
Well, because we have in our budget that we are hiring a building inspector.
To augment him. He's here only part of the time. We've done that.
But we didn't budget for him and an additional person.
Yes, we did.
No, we didn't. We did not put anything in for Mr. Fisher's salary. Mr. Fisher's salary last year was $25,500. And you have put in for a new employee for $34,500 with all of his benefits. But there's no money for Mr. Fisher, so that's why I asked you, was he contracted? Why is there a budget for a person? And your answer was, it was just a line item change.
There's a contract for our building official right now. So that should be taken care of by the line item that has our building department, if you will, or building
And if you
official.
look at your budget, there is nothing on that line item. You budgeted a salary, FICA, retirement, and workman's comp for a total of $34,500 for a new employee. So that's why I'm asking, is Mr. Fisher leaving? And if he isn't leaving, why are we hiring another employee?
Well, like you said, to augment Mr. Fisher, because he's only here 2 half days per week.
Maybe we should renegotiate Mr. Fisher's contract and have him here a little bit more, if that's the case, and it might be cheaper for the city to consider that.
I see the need for an additional body, just because of all of the developments that are on the horizon. I don't think it's something that he could handle by himself.
What about the other company that we pay budgeted $10,000 for.
Well, if we have a second person working with Dennis, then we probably won't need to have that company doing anything for us.
Okay, but we budgeted for that universal engineer or something of that nature. So we budgeted for them, we budgeted for a new employee, but we didn't budget anything for Dennis.
Yeah, I didn't.
And he's not leaving.
No.
Okay. Since we're bringing up shortfalls, and I will ask Mr. Adams for an appointment, and I'm going to schedule one in November. But there are many items on this existing budget that have shortfalls. A simple example of that is our sheriff's contract. We have a budget in there for $635,000. The contract is for $648,000. We currently have a shortfall in the sheriff's budget line of $13,092. That's just one of multiple ones that I have found. And like I said, I will schedule an appointment. I will sit down with Mr. Adams in November, but there are many items in our budget that we're going to have to readdress and change and figure out where the money's coming from to pay for the shortfalls that we currently have in this budget that you have already approved. That's all.
Thank you. Next.
Pence,
Tom Pence, 295 Indian Creek Road. How many new employees are we budgeted for? Four new employees?
4 part-time,
But how many when you say part-time, is that 20 hours, 32 hours?
24.
24 hours. Why are we doing 4 more FTEs?
Because there's a need for them, in my opinion.
Well, I'm gonna go back to Kerry because it makes sense. I like Dennis Fisher. He's done a great job, but it just seems more appropriate to hire one full-time person than to have 2 part-time people doing that job for better continuity. That's just a personal observation. Secondly, how much of a merit increase was budgeted for employees? Merit increase?
4%.
4%. Okay, if I read the page 4 correctly, we had to take $10,500 out of the reserves to supplement 2024 budget. Is that correct? I read it right? Okay. And on page 10, there's 2 expenses I didn't really understand. I just want to get a better clarification of them. And that was for $80,000. Page 10. Yeah, one was planning and consulting at $80,000. What is that for?
For the work that we'll have with our planners, Kimberly Horn and CGA.
What company was it with?
Kimberly Horn.
Kimberly Horn.
CGA, yeah.
And the other one was plant engineer general for $80,000. It was line item 0115519314.
That would be,
Is that Mead and Hunt?
yeah, we don't have the engineers.
Okay. And on page 13, we've got operating surplus for $30,000. What's operating surplus?
That's supplies. That's
Supplies.
Well, surplus to me is something extra. So you should,
the account is supplies.
the what?
The account is supplies.
Accounting supplies.
The account, like the general ledger account, is supplies.
Well, why does it say operating surplus?
It says, it's abbreviated supplies, SUPPL.
Hold, let me go back.
/RS for road.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Got it. That was my mistake, thank you.
So that's a quick visual.
Yeah, when I first looked at it. Okay. That's all I had. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Duran Welch.
Joanne Welch, 222 Cypress. Item numbers 00350, 100 code boards and fines has now got 00350, 000 fines and forfeitures. They're right there. Why not combine those to make them one thing? What's the difference between board fines and forfeitures? Since they've never been separated before. Okay. The second question I have is under overtime, 41541-125. Why are we adding that line item, 41541-125, rather than using the existing line item of 41541-135 overtime R&S, which actually shows, if you go back through and compare over history, that actually would show you the historic overtime features. Adding the new number doesn't make any sense. Shouldn't we go back to using just 135 so that we can count on a history and show the history of the overtime usage? Okay. The next question I have is 41541-230 health insurance. If you've changed your salaries, so you're adding new people there, shouldn't you also be changing the health insurance costs? Shouldn't your health insurance increase, or are the new people you're adding to the salaries not going to be offered health insurance?
They're not going to be offered because they're part-time.
Okay. Okay, and then the other, you didn't answer that code boards, fines and forfeitures. What was the answer to that one?
I have to go check. I don't know.
In fines and forfeitures, the differences really are the code board being more internal. The other fines and forfeitures is generally what comes from the clerk's office. From an accounting perspective, those two amounts have been broken out at least in the most recent year. So the budget basically split out those accounts to align with how it's recorded in the system versus those were just lumped into one budget item in prior years. What's the second one again? Your second question.
41,541.
The difference in.
Oh, yes, on the overtime account. So what that related to is there's a handful of accounts as we kind of started looking at everything that did not align with the state of Florida Uniform Chart of Accounts. So some of the changes to date in terms of getting different account numbers put into place has been to better align with that. So that's why there may be some others that don't totally go one-to-one, as we are kind of cleaning up the chart of accounts to make it align better with the uniform chart of accounts. So that'd be the nature of that, probably again some others like that. And then again, next year, my plan is we would do a little bit more of a bigger overhaul to be kind of 100% compliant with the state of Florida Uniform Chart of Accounts.
Anyone else?
So Charlie Dean said he wanted to speak. Charlie, didn't you say you want to speak, Charlie Dean?
Charlie, did you want to speak?
I didn't have nothing.
Okay.
Oh, I thought you said you wanted to speak on the budget.
Pardon? I didn't put anything in for that. I can always speak though if you need to. I'm never at a loss for words.
That wasn't the issue, Charlie.
Jim? Jim Montgomery?
Yes, I would like to know how much money Volusia County collects from the residents and landowners of Oak Hill. Does anybody know?
question, how much does Volusia County get from the
Collect,
residents?
how much did Volusia County collect in taxes from the residents and landowners of Oak Hill? Do any of y'all know?
No, that would be in the county budget, not in the
Yeah,
city.
it would be in the county budget line for this.
Do you know what
On the
percentage
tax
of
bill.
that money is
No.
collected for
You'd have to look
how
at-
much Oak Hill collects,
Have to look at the
percentage-wise?
You can look at your tax rate, I think, and look at the millage rate for what the county gets.
But does anybody,
That's a percentage of the, all right, and then there's a total value of the population of the property worth, right, of Oak Hill citizens.
You can look on your tax bill that you'll get, and it'll say Volusia County, you'll see City of Oak Hill, you'll say the school board, Volusia County School Board, and then there'll be some additional ones, the Florida Inland Navigation District probably is one.
Hospital.
And Hospital District, you'll see these different ones, and you can kind of see how much they're collecting from you, anyway, how much Volusia County gets. So
And that's a percentage.
And you
But
throw in
shouldn't-
there, there's a fire district too, so
Yes.
that goes to the county, so you could look at how much you're paying yourself.
but when you all do a budget, shouldn't you know the amount of money that was collected to begin with?
Only the cities.
Right.
Yeah, it
Only the
doesn't,
city's budget. And
what
we
the
don't-
county collects doesn't
Not the
have
county.
anything to do with our
We don't,
budget.
and also, we don't collect the money. The county
I
collects
realize
it,
you don't
and
collect
they-
the
and
money.
they send us the city share. So
All right.
we don't have any control over the county budget.
All right, do you have any lobbyists or anybody that represents Oak Hill with Volusia County?
The elected officials.
Danny
Danny Robbins,
Robbins.
he's our representative on the council.
And he attends the meetings of Volusia County?
He's a
Yes,
county, he's a
he-
county.
Oh, he is a
Yeah.
county.
He's a county council rep for this area.
Who is responsible for trying to get grants for money for Oak Hill?
Depends on what I mean, various things. We are, they are, different people are. I mean, that.
Depends on the
organization.
project.
Depends on what it is.
Yeah.
City has a lobbyist that goes to Tallahassee and requests funding from the state.
And who does that?
Our lobbyist,
Okay. All right, I guess that's all that was my questions.
all right, sir, thank you.
Thank you.
One more, okay.
Bonnie Davis.
Hi, Bonnie Davis, 226 Gary. I just have a question on the reserve, okay? What is our total reserve that we have on hand right now that we're able to pull from if we need additional money? I think I saw in the budget, it said that we took like 75,000 in 2023 out of the reserve, and then we're taking 10,000 out of, for 2024. That's to cover shortfalls in the budget, correct? If that's the way I understand it.
That's what that 10,000 was for last
Okay.
year, yeah.
Okay, and then 75,000 from the previous year,
I don't know what the
2023.
value is.
How much money do we have in the reserve? I mean, do we have a problem in budgeting if we continue to pull out of our reserve every year? Like I said, 75,000 in 2023, now 10,000 in 2024. So, you know, are we having a problem with the budget shortfall, or trying to understand that, how it works, or how you all come about figuring out what you pull? I know you're pulling out of the reserve because of shortfall in the budget for that particular year, but can that continue on year after year? And what is our total right now? Once we pull the $10,000 out, how much do we have left in the reserve? That's my question.
So this is when we really look at on a fiscal year basis, just because until the dust settles on the current fiscal year, we'll see what that changed. At the end of fiscal year 23, it was about excluding ARPA and excluding the building department, because that excess cash generated from building department revenues has to be used for the building department. So we kind of scope that out as a restricted reserve. The unrestricted reserves in total were about 1.23 million. 900,000 of that did represent ARPA funds, so I kind of do tend to say, hey, let's look at it without that because those were one-time dollars in terms of how they came in, how they want to be used. At the end of the prior fiscal year, we're about $325,000 in terms of just the unrestricted reserves, looking at our fund balance with no strings attached really at the end of the prior fiscal year.
Thank you.
What is our goal, what, do you know what our goal is for our reserve dollars? Or what we should be trying to keep in there? I mean, 325,000, I mean, that you can use for anything, seems like a lot of money to me when they keep raising our taxes every year.
So as a percentage, that was about 22%. We did discuss at one of the workshops to potentially bring back a policy. The minimum recommendation from the Government Finance Officers Association is a bare minimum of 2 months, recognizing factors such as being coastal, smaller, are reasons to potentially be higher. I believe we discussed a target range of 30 to 40%, so we would be a little bit below that. And just for kind of quick perspective too, if you ranked all of the Volusia governments, we would be in the probably bottom third in terms of just for kind of a quick comparison to others.
How much of that is ARPA fund?
So the 325 is excluding ARPA. There's about $900,000 in addition to that. So if there was a major hit from a hurricane or otherwise, we do have, again, about $1.5 million in total. Just most of that is either restricted or the one-time ARPA funds.
Anyone else? Call for the vote?
Mayor Gibson,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Lindlau,
Yes.
Commissioner McGee,
Yes.
Commissioner Catagano,
No.
Commissioner Hyde.
Yes.
Is there a motion?
Motion to adjourn?
Adjourn.